And it looks like Chris Moneymaker is fully aware of that, and he's going to bet to Johnny Chan.
Yeah, Chris Moneymaker, about a 2-to-1 favorite. Excuse me. He would actually be much more than the 2-to-1 favorite right now with the nut flush draw and the pair of aces against Johnny.
This wasn't just a poker hand. It was a $1 million lie told with unmatched confidence. Chris Moneymaker looked down at nothing, stared a pro directly in the eyes, and shoved his stack across the felt. Against all odds, the legend folded. That single decision created the most famous bluff in poker history. And more than that, it launched a global movement. You'll see why this moment wasn't about luck. It was about nerve, timing, and rewriting what everyone thought was possible. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. How does a $39 online entry turn into a seat at poker's biggest table? It sounds absurd, like buying a scratch-off that suddenly throws you into the Super Bowl. But that's exactly what happened here. A regular office worker sat at his computer one night and, with a tiny stake, opened the door to the most elite arena in poker. The moment he arrived, everyone watching knew this was no standard story. He wasn't a name, he wasn't a headline, he wasn't a known threat. He was an accountant who spent more time crunching numbers than shuffling chips. No tournament wins, no live poker glory, no track record of lighting up a room with his play. Just a guy stepping out of a routine life into a monster stage. Imagine someone walking straight off their 9-to-5 job and finding themselves in the championship spotlight. That's the scale of the leap. Now, poker in that era had a reputation. This wasn't the casual game you see in a home kitchen or on a streaming app. The tables were stacked with killers. Guys who'd been grinding for years, stacking chips in card rooms, and traveling the world for buy-ins that most people couldn't dream about. To even sit there, you were expected to have a bankroll ready to burn, a reputation already carved out, and nerves that could withstand the heat of television lights. So when an online qualifier with none of that background walked in, pros looked at him the way a veteran fighter looks at a rookie jogging into the cage. They respect the courage, sure, but they expect to break him down quickly. In their eyes, he wasn't a threat. He was fodder. And the crowd felt the same way. The chatter buzzed with the same thought. Amateurs freeze. Amateurs crumble. Amateurs don't last. But there's something dangerous about an outsider who isn't weighed down by the same expectations. While the veterans carried pressure to live up to reputations and bankrolls, this new player only had to play his cards. Nothing to lose, everything to gain. That kind of freedom can be lethal because it changes how bold you're willing to be. When you know the whole world has already counted you out, you can take risks no seasoned player dares. Picture it like tossing a neighborhood basketball player into the NBA Finals. The skill gap is massive, yes. The speed and intensity are brutal, yes. But every once in a while, an underdog lands a shot nobody thought possible. And with each bucket, the crowd goes from dismissive to stunned. That's the pressure this new arrival felt. Except this wasn't a pickup game. Millions in prize money were on the line, and every single hand had cameras capturing his every twitch. As the event played on, he proved he wasn't some lottery ticket winner just waiting to fold. He picked his spots, pressed when he needed, and showed a calm few expected. What looked like pure luck at first glance was slowly revealed to be something else. A man using one small online chance to fuel a strategy big enough to survive. No gimmicks, no miracles, no slot machine jackpot. Just a tiny bet transformed into a real shot at glory. And that shock, that raw upset brewing at the table, was about to collide with one of poker's ultimate predators. Because standing across from him wasn't another unknown, wasn't another hopeful amateur. It was a shark with a reputation that made even hardened pros sweat. And the accountant with the $39 ticket was heading straight for him. Imagine sitting down across from a man whose very presence can rattle professionals. A guy so feared that even seasoned grinders hesitate to tangle with him heads up. That man is Sammy Farha. Smooth on the outside, deadly underneath.
With these two players, this is the kind of hand that Sammy Farha could lose a lot of money in, unless he gets lucky, like he has before.
Daniel the
I don't
prophet
want it.
without looking.
I don't want the prophet.
Okay. No. I'm at 3 days. I don't know. Hope I can call at least. Yeah, I'm calling definitely. How much? 6?
6 tall.
All right, dog.
If you're looking for a picture of high-stakes poker cool, there he is. Leaning back, cigarette balanced, shirt open, grin relaxed. But don't let the style fool you. Farha wasn't there for show. He was a shark who smelled weakness, and in front of him now sat the ultimate prey. An amateur fresh off an online buy-in. Now think about the contrast. On one side of the felt, you've got Moneymaker. Quiet posture, accountant background, cautious in demeanor. He looks like the guy you'd ask to double-check your tax return. He blends in, no flash, no aura. On the other side, Farha embodies the image of the gambler. Walking stack of confidence, everything about him says, I own this table. To the viewers, it was night versus day. And when those two worlds collide, history usually writes itself with the amateur folding and the pro stacking his chips. The psychology was simple. In one-on-one poker, the pro has the edge. They've logged tens of thousands of hours reading patterns, sniffing out tells, punishing hesitation. The amateur doesn't just need cards. He needs a miracle. Farha carried that aura in spades. Pun intended. He had the ability to look across the table and sense when someone was sweating. He could take a nothing hand, make a bold stand, and force opponents to pay dearly. Against him, folding second-best hands wasn't optional. It was survival. Pros knew this. Amateurs usually never figured it out until it was too late. That's why going heads-up with Farha felt like stepping into a boxing ring with a man who only smiles before he lands the knockout punch. Cool, casual, almost playful in his image. But beneath that posture lay a ruthless streak. When Farha pressed, players cracked. He leaned on his opponents until they made mistakes, and once that opening appeared, game over. His legend wasn't built on luck. It was reinforced night after night by preying on the smallest signs of weakness. To the crowd, this looked like a mismatch straight from the script. Farha's casual confidence made it entertaining, but nobody doubted where the chips should end up. Sitting across from him was a man without the pedigree, without the bankroll, without the live experience to withstand the grind. Every eye in the room saw it the same way. This was about to be Farha's stage. The amateur was there simply as the final victim in a predator's highlight reel. And yet, here's the truth about poker. It doesn't always respect resumes. You can have years of mastery, lightning reads, nerves of steel, and still get rattled by an opponent who refuses to play the role assigned to him. That's the hidden danger of the underdog. Unpredictability. You never quite know what move is coming, because the outsider doesn't follow the unspoken rules. They don't care if strategy says fold. They don't care if history says they're supposed to go home quietly. They're free. And freedom at a poker table is a weapon that scares even sharks. So the stage was set. The cool, deadly high roller against the quiet accountant. The mismatch everyone anticipated. Pros versus amateur. Predator versus prey. On paper, it looked impossible for the rookie to survive. But reality had other plans. Because soon the underdog would attempt something no one saw coming. A move so bold, it cracked through reputations, silenced the crowd, and rewrote the narrative of the entire final table. And now, with the stage burning under those lights, the cards ready to fall, the table sat waiting for the hand that would shock the world. 3 spades hit the table. Everything changed in one instant. In poker, the flop is the first 3 cards down, and this one carried danger for both men. On one side, Chris Moneymaker sat with King of Spades and 7 of Hearts. On the other, Sammy Farha tabled Queen of Spades and 9 of Hearts. When the flop rolled out 9 of Spades, 2 of Diamonds, 6 of Spades, it instantly divided the table. Farha picked up top pair with his 9. Moneymaker had no pair at all, just a single high spade as a blocker, thin air pretending to be a weapon. Now here's where it gets crazy. On paper, Farha is miles ahead. He's got a made hand, solid enough to push. Meanwhile, the accountant across from him is floating with nothing more than king high. Most rookies catching air in this spot freeze up. They check, they hope for a miracle card, or they fold quietly to fight another day. But not Moneymaker. He didn't hesitate. He leaned forward, pressed chips out, and turned a weak spot into the start of a fight. Think of it like a rookie fighter standing across from a heavyweight. The first instinct is always to guard, keep your head down, and try to survive the early rounds. But every once in a while, that rookie throws the first punch, not out of arrogance, but out of the simple truth. If you wait, you get crushed. That's exactly what happened here. Moneymaker chose to swing. Farha, of course, didn't blink at first. He had reason to be calm. He held top pair and a spade in the hole. That spade isn't enough to make a flush, but it's a piece of backup, a lifeline if more spades show on the turn. From his perspective, he was ahead. Yet poker isn't just math, it's story. And the story Moneymaker was telling said, I have strength. Every chip pushed forward made the story louder. And as pots grow, tension grows too. This is the brutal trap of poker psychology. When you're holding the better cards, but the table momentum starts feeling like it's against you. It's no longer about the raw hand. It's about whether the opponent across from you has the guts to make you fold good cards. And right now, Moneymaker was saying he did. The key detail, he had nothing. No pair, no draw worth chasing, just overcards and a single spade that blocked potential flushes. But that blocker gave him the confidence to represent a monster. If Farha looked down and imagined his opponent holding two spades, say ace-king or king-queen, suddenly the possibility of a busted stack started to creep into the thought process. That tiny psychological edge is all Moneymaker needed. To appreciate how bold this was, remember the stakes. This wasn't a late-night home game where you bluff a buddy holding chips you'll win back next week. This was the main stage, cameras on, money worth millions sitting dead in the middle. And Moneymaker, the amateur, was looking straight at one of the most feared sharks and firing at him holding smoke and mirrors. It was insane. And it was working. Every bet he placed forced the table to recognize something unusual was happening. No hesitation, no sheepish posture, no I don't belong here vibe. He was pressing like the pro should have been pressing. That flip of rolls is what made the flop so deadly. It threw Farha off script. Instead of hunting the amateur, he was now reacting to him. This was the first spark of a legendary bluff. It wasn't victory yet, not even close. But it set in motion the tension that would explode a hand later. Moneymaker didn't retreat. He pressed. And from that moment on, this wasn't just another orbit of play. It was the foundation of the bluff that would change poker forever. Now comes the turn, where the hand goes from risky to revolutionary. One move, all the chips in the middle, and nothing in his hand. That's what it came down to. The turn card peeled off an 8 of spades, and suddenly the table looked like a minefield. 4 spades showing, pressure at its peak, and yet Chris Moneymaker still had no made hand. His only weapon was that single king of spades in his grip, and the nerve to convince the man across from him that it meant doom. Across the felt sat Sammy Farha with top pair and a queen of spades. Not a monster, but strong enough to keep him locked in. For a pro like Farha, this was a calling card position. He faced amateurs before. He knew they buckled under pressure. He expected the same here. A check, a weak stab, maybe a fold. But instead, he found himself staring at an opponent who looked ready to fight fire with fire. Picture the clash. On one side, Farha leaned back, cool as ever. Cigarette at the corner of his mouth, eyes narrowed, calm. On the other side, Moneymaker didn't fidget, didn't retreat into timid silence. He sat steady, chips at the ready, eyes telling a story louder than his cards ever could. The crowd shuffled at the edges, sensing something wild was brewing. Then it happened. Moneymaker shoved. Every last chip. All in. No safety net. No backup plan. Just a king-high bluff thrown straight into the fire. It wasn't careful. It wasn't safe. But it was pure. And in that room, the air froze. Everyone knew. If Farah called, it was game over for the amateur dream. Months of build-up, thousands of hands, millions at stake, snuffed out in a single snap call. That's the gamble. The courage wasn't in the cards themselves. The cards were garbage. The courage was in standing in front of one of the most feared operators in the game and saying, "I dare you." It takes something lethal to push chips like that with nothing except a story you're selling. And every chip across that line screamed, "Flush. Nut flush. You don't want this." For Farha, this wasn't just math anymore. He sat back, replaying the hand in his mind, weighing the strength against the tail. He had pair of nines, queen kicker, and that queen of spades for backup. That's better than a lot of players would ever dream of here. But if he guessed wrong, one call could cost him not just chips, but the whole crown. He looked across, stared down the unknown accountant, and searched for cracks. Second by second, the tension grew like slow motion. The crowd didn't move, barely breathed. Dealers stood frozen, eyes darting. It was predator against prey, but the lines had blurred completely. Farah flicked his cards, studied, smirked. For a man who built his game on sniffing out weakness, this was torture. If he called and was right, he'd end the Cinderella run. If he called and was wrong, he'd be crippled on the spot. And finally, decision time. Farha's fingers lifted, cards bent, and with one final movement, he let them go. Fold. The crowd erupted, a boom of disbelief and shock. The rookie had pushed the shark off his throne with nothing but sheer audacity. No flush, no set, not even a pair. Just raw nerve dressed up as a monster. That single bluff didn't just steal a pot. It became poker legend. History stamped it as the bluff of the century, and the ripple from that one shove would extend far beyond the table itself. And that bluff didn't just win a hand. It changed the trajectory of poker forever. That million-dollar bluff wasn't just a hand. It was the spark that lit poker's golden age. One outsider walked in with nothing but nerve and showed the world you don't need reputation or bankroll to steal the spotlight. That shove flipped the script forever. Think about what it proved. Anyone, anywhere, could step into the arena and shock the best. It wasn't theory, it wasn't luck, it was bravery wrapped in chips. And that's why the game changed. If you want to see more of the boldest poker moments ever caught on camera, check out this video right here.